Hey, everybody. She's Sarah Snyder, a financial strategist.
Habit coach. And today
I'm
we get
sorry,
to
you gotta stop. You were not, your mic was off.
it's off. It's on.
I
Can you
didn't
hear me?
hear you at all. I don't know why.
Huh. Okay.
You know what? I think my husband can just edit that out. Let's start
Okay.
again. Let's pause. Hold on. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. She's Sarah Snyder, a financial strategist.
And she is Ronnie Loaiza, a certified habit coach. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today we get to talk about aligning money and habits with our core values. And Ronnie, why is this so important?
Well, everybody hears about what are your core values and what's your why. We have heard this for years, especially since the pandemic, when a lot of people started pivoting. What's your why, especially solopreneurs and entrepreneurs? But really, it is. Some people call it the North Star now. What is your why? Well, base it. We're saying base it, and we always do, whether you realize it or not. You're basing your decisions on what you value. And if you're not intentional about it, those values can just be what needs to be done, what needs to be done, what needs to be done. So we're inviting you to really look at what is it you value? Because some people say, well, these are my core values, integrity, honesty, whatever it is. And that looks nice. And those are, what do we call them? Virtues. We're going to separate virtues from values. Values truly is basically, what do you value? What do you consider valuable? What do you consider is important to you? Deep down, not what society values, not what your family values. You know when you don't really agree with something deep down, but you're going with the flow or you compromise. And you usually don't compromise if you truly don't value it, or at least a little, and at least some of it. Like, okay, that's important, so I'll give in here. So I know that that's broad, but when we're making financial decisions, and right now there are two things. Well, we're gonna cover 4 points really: health, your mental health, why people struggle with goals. And we have so many goals out there, goals, goals, goals. And when they clash with their values, we're going to talk about how to design habits. Habits, not routines, not to dos, not tasks, not mandates, but natural habits that align because they're natural. They're a natural part of your identity. They drive you and they're not forced. How faith, whatever that means to you, and that's for most people, trust is the anchor that you don't know. You don't have a crystal ball, but you have faith. Okay. Spirituality, whatever that means to you, spiritual, psyche, soul, or personal values can guide you in your financial decisions. That doesn't mean pray about it. It can be, but we invite you to open your mind to what is it that you consider spiritual, taking some time with you, not just pros and cons, not what your financial planner says, no offense, Sarah, or not just, it's like, what do you really know inside you? It's like, okay, what do I feel is right, even in uncertain times? And in these times, some people are going, stay with it, be consistent, don't offer things for a less price because people want consistency. They want stability. Keep with that offer. Keep with what you have in your financial investments. Keep with what you know. And for many people, they really believe that, and that aligns with what they value. However, they can make some changes. And then there are other people like, no, this is a time where you start offering for less because people are really pivoting to, I'm going to buy for cheaper. I'm going to get these investments. I'm going to save for the future. They start doing differently than what they were doing before. So we want to look at you looking at what you value to start making those decisions. Do I start reinvesting? Do I invest in that? Do I plan this way? What should I ask my financial planner? Is it okay? What should I do? And they come with values. Now, Sarah, I know that you've told me about different clients, and I know that you have different what we call case studies, but you have some really good examples. Would you share one with us?
Yeah, absolutely. If you probably noticed me looking off to the side, I've been taking notes, and I encourage those of you watching to be taking notes as well, because these are really important points. And I want to back up a tiny little bit too, because when I'm thinking about values and the importance of those, I want us to even be doing some self-evaluation right now. Often, we grow up with certain maybe phrases, whether they're from others to us or that we say ourselves a lot when it comes to money. And those might, for example, be money changes you, or rich people are selfish, or we're not like them, right? And The problem is if we have goals around money and around making more or saving more, but we subconsciously believe that if we have more money, we're going to be bad, or we're going to be like the people that we've talked bad about for so many years, simply it simply becomes impossible really to do that because we're going to self-sabotage. Well, if we've gone through a lot of struggles around money, maybe we've created almost strongholds in our thinking, and that's actually one of the stories I want to briefly share today, that maybe allow us to make progress in certain areas, but completely hinder us from making progress in other areas. And that's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about this topic, because what I get to do, and partly why I love to work with Ronnie, what I get to do is help people to think through some really big decisions, but those big decisions can actually lay foundational pieces in place for transformation in their lives. But sometimes it's scary to make those decisions, especially if maybe there's conflict with some of those internally held beliefs or misbeliefs. And so what Ronnie has and the ability to think through putting in place kind of shifts in thinking and then the habits that support those can really help in that process. So I want to tell you about two people. These are not their real names, right? But we're going to talk about Anna and Tom. And Anna is an incredible individual who spent years in service of others. She served and served and served. She served in missions, she served in nonprofit, and she just gave away. Now, I can't say for sure what her internal self-talk was, but I get the impression that it was something along the lines of, when I have, whether that's money or time or energy, I give. Others are worth giving to, but maybe not myself. And she poured out her life to others, but then as she was getting older, there was this fear along the way, there was this fear of money. And am I going to be okay? And I might have talked about it earlier. Am I going to be okay? And so when we sat down together, it was actually almost impossible for her to look at numbers and understand them, not because she's not intelligent, she's brilliant. She, at this point, had a high-paying job. She's still in the service of others. She's a counselor here. But she realized I need to start saving. And I really need to do that. And so we got to start walking through this process of kind of demystifying how money works and talking about it and talking about some of those even fears around money. And she had an old 401k sitting out there, and she actually wasn't planning on doing anything with it. She was planning to just leave it there. I'm gonna be okay. I don't really need it. It was associated with actually past trauma and old painful memories. And so she wasn't planning to do anything together with that. But as we talked about, like, no, 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 let's move it. Let's move it somewhere. You're going to get a bonus. We're going to protect it from any form of market loss. We're going to position it for growth. Now you're going to continue to save. You're going to hit your 401k match with your current company, but we're also going to be making up for some lost time. So let's look at setting in place another strategy where you can consistently start saving towards that. And over time, over a period of, it's been a couple years, uh, she has gone from this place of, giving away. Oh, one last thing. She had given away a large chunk of her money to her parents, even. And it's nice we want to be generous to our parents. They wanted to invest it. She wasn't doing anything with it. Again, back to that maybe lack of self-worth in some ways and fear around money. So she'd given it away. And the reason that's important is now as she's thinking through and starting to have the ability to be comfortable with thinking about money, the ability to be comfortable in saving for herself, as she's thinking through, well, they're going to start repaying me on that this coming year. Now that habit has changed of how she thinks about money and how she's saving for herself, we're able to actually plan and strategize on what to do with that for her future. I've got another story, but any thoughts on this one, Ronnie, kind of as a person who thinks through habits? I'd like your thoughts here.
Well, I call that habitual way of thinking. And many people in here might be going, yeah, but the thing is, I have responsibilities. So that's not really my story. It's like I have responsibilities. So you've been paying for your kids' tuition, perhaps, or at least their athletics or just life. And so you have to hold maybe two jobs, maybe three jobs, or you have that one job, but you're just living life. So you're probably thinking, well, no, I don't have anything like that. But what do you have? Is it that you think I don't have more money to invest?
Mhm.
That is the habitual way of thinking. And you might think, no, I'm looking at my bank account and I don't. there might be ways to reallocate it. In fact, there probably are. I know that I've rehauled my total finances this year, and I was surprised at how much I could invest and how much I didn't have to do the old ways. I mean, I grew up in the times of CDs and savings accounts. Now it's like high yield savings until the interest rates drops. So you can do different things and look at it differently. She's the financial expert, so she can tell you more about that, especially if you get with her. But whatever it is, we like you to look at your values. What do you value? What that lady valued was service, 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 service all these years. And she's like, well, I have a 401k. I'll be fine. Know what I mean? And that's fine. That's what she valued. Now she's starting to look at how can I value myself?
Yes.
Me first, not just me too, me first. Nothing wrong with that because you have to put yourself first in order to keep living and thrive and enjoy your life and keep giving to other people. And what kind of life do you want? That's your life planning. So yeah, that's what I have to contribute to that. There's also another one that I think of is I never had the, some people you hear money blocks, mental money blocks. Like I'm not worthy. I never felt I wasn't worthy. I'm like, I'm worthy. So maybe that's not what you're thinking, but you're like, why can't I just get ahead? Or I can't get a better job, or I have a job, or so maybe that's not your case where you're putting other first. It's that you think, I'm trying. I'd love to get rich or I'd love to be more secure, but I just don't see how. I'm not saying all woo woo. Well, no, there's always a way. I'm saying practical. There may be ways and other ways to grow your security or grow money or become a solopreneur or go to a vocation or retire early, but do something beyond retirement that you really want to fulfill in your life. It's just opening your mind to possibilities, is what we're saying, by what you value. What do you value? And what will
Yeah.
you value beyond in 5 years and 10 years?
Yeah, and what Ronnie is saying is key there, right? So your story might be not be like Anna's, where she valued service to others, and she really honestly didn't look at herself. And then she did have the money blocks around even talking about or thinking about money. Each person's going to be a little bit different, but what she did was able to shift the way that she thought to where she started to value herself, and the result has been amazing. Like with one of the accounts that she set up with, she's consistently had 11% growth over the last couple of years. That account would not have even existed if she hadn't taken that shift of thinking to say, yeah, I'm going to actually take that old 401k and I'm not going to leave it out there trapped by my fears and trauma and past experience. I'm going to move it somewhere and grow it for me. And the way that she's been saving into the two other accounts that she has access to now is mind-blowing because she said, yes, I'm going to start investing in myself consistently every single month.
Yeah.
Now,
You also
that
have another example, I believe, a gentleman.
yeah, I do actually. And so with Tom, what Tom actually Tom is pretty unique as well. And then in a future video, I'm going to look at somebody else who's really cool story in terms of more on. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So Tom and his wife, we'll just call her Rachel. They were hardworking. They were a family of five. They both had a job, but when baby number two came around, they had a value, and that value was Rachel was going to stay home with the kids. And that meant that that's a significant amount of money that was not going to be coming in after that, right? Now we have a one income earning family, and they also had a lovely home that they shared with Rachel's sister, but now Rachel wants to sell her share. So not only do they have one income less, but now the cost of that home has significantly increased because they're buying out the sister. And the husband's an entrepreneur. He's running a few different businesses. This is what they wanted with their kind of values as a family. They wanted insurance for the entire family, including the mother-in-law who lived with them. They wanted liquid cash to invest in their businesses because they had growing businesses and they were actually making pretty good income with that. But then there's the need to invest to take that to the next level. They wanted tax advantage savings options for the kids for their education. They wanted the flexibility to grow their wealth and access it in tax-free ways if needed. Now, what I want to share here is they were pretty clear in terms of what they wanted, and they were actually aligned with those wants. But the reality at that time was they couldn't do everything simply because of how life changes. And so it was those little steps that they took that have impressed me so much, and I've watched them consistently over time. Tom went and got, go
Their
ahead.
North Star, what they value, is right there. It's like, well, this is what we value. We want this security. We want to invest in our own business. So you can work towards that because they feel it inside. It's like not just goals, it's beyond goals. It's like what lifestyle and what kind of future and how we're going to get there. You have to value how you get there.
Yeah.
I mean, you can play
Yeah.
the lottery every day, or you can go to Vegas and try, but what do you value? Or it's like, well, everybody's doing Bitcoin. That doesn't mean you value how you do it. So you have to really look at what you value, your North Star, and how you do it, because not just to feel comfortable, but thinking, okay, this is my risk level, and I value being able to, like, if the bottom drops, we're still secure,
Yeah.
or we can go more risk, or whatever it is that you value.
Yeah. So what they did is they took simple steps, right? He worked hard. He worked really hard. We set them up initially with just term policies, which they can convert to permanent policies down the road, and they're a lot smaller than they need, but they're something. They're
Yeah.
something. So if God forbid the case scenario were to happen, the remaining spouse and the kids would have something. And then we set up cash value life insurance for those kids where they could actually grow money without paying taxes on that growth. And if they need to, they can access it for business purposes, or they can save it to help pay for the kids' college education. They decided to postpone mother-in-law's insurance and continue to save, continue to build. And he actually also went through and got his own life and health insurance licenses to add yet another tool to his toolkit as a potential stream of income for his family. And it took him 9 months, but because he's working harder than anybody else I've ever seen, but the consistency I've seen in this family, day in, day out, week in, week out, in pursuing that goal of building an opportunity for their family that they can be proud of and enjoy has really been impressive.
Now, when he was getting trained in, I think you said insurance or real estate?
Mhm. Insurance, yes.
Insurance. Okay. Um, did that take away any time from the family or his other bread and butter job?
Not much. He had 1 day a week. And so, yes, it did probably take away a couple hours from his family during his 1 day a week where he was not doing his other businesses.
Okay. However, it took him 9 months. So he invested time, but did not take any quality time from, well, I'm just not, I'm going to do it in 4 months, and take
Right,
away a lot of money making time and family time.
right. He still prioritized covering their expenses, getting them in a healthy place as a family,
And
making
that's
sure
what
he
we
would
mean
take his
by
kids to their activities after school.
right. And now, so you might think, well, what do you mean by habits that don't feel forced? His habit, I'm sure, could have entailed, now I'm making this up, studying a little bit every day, like half an hour or 20 minutes. And he studied every day for 20 minutes, 7 days a week. I mean, people spend that on social media or
Yeah.
vegging out in front of the TV, changing the remote control for 10 minutes. If you get in the habit of, I'm going to do something toward this every day, whatever it is, then it becomes natural. And if it aligns with what you value, I value this time because I'm investing it for whatever,
hmm
you
Yeah.
know, and
One
we're
of the
not
things that perhaps neglected to say is they're an immigrant family and they knew what they had left behind and they knew the opportunity that they had here and they are holding on to that opportunity tight.
right, right. The other thing, for example, mentally, um, I'm a solopreneur. They used to call it self-employed, but I'm self-employed. I'm a total 1099 everywhere. So when I have a lot of things to prioritize, forget that Google Calendar. The first thing I get in the habit of doing is, what's the one thing of all these things I have to do that will get me to my goal, whatever that goal is? It could be making more money. It could be getting new clients. It could be sharing with my clients. So what is it? What's driving me more toward that career or that thing I'm striving for? Um, for a while, it was like I have to rehaul everything and kind of look at everything I've been ignoring and just like putting it away, like converting a an IRA that was my mother's, I inherited. It's like, no, if I take it out, I'm going to lose money. So I just kind of left it there and I didn't want to deal with it. And I didn't want to deal with writing a will. And, you know,
First thing, that will needs to be a first thing, okay?
and it's like, I'm so young, but now it's like, okay, God forbid something happen or whatever.
Exactly.
So, what is going to drive me today when I have to make a decision? I'm in the habit of like, okay, stop. What is the most important thing that will drive me to what I need or what I'm striving for? And then that's how I prioritize. I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm saying that's my habit. It's like boom, my habitual way of thinking. What's the number one priority? What's the one action that will take me to that number one priority, and whittle it down from there? Sometimes you can't go by the calendar because, as you know, especially if you have families, if you're not single and living all alone and answering only to yourself, you have other people to answer for, and they can change your day and your routine. Get in the habit of, okay, default, what's the minimum I should be doing today, and what's the minimum I can do toward that goal, whether it's a financial goal or something like that.
Yeah. And I mean, there really often are certain core steps or actions that we can take that have more impact than everything else. And
Mm-hmm.
everything else sometimes is easier to do. I am guilty of that. I sometimes prefer the everything else because they maybe are more interesting or more fun for me, or maybe there feels like there's less risk with them because they actually aren't going to have as much of a consequence as that one thing. And I'm afraid maybe if I do that one thing, I'll fail, right? And so sometimes, again, that comes back to, well, do we value our own short-term, right now sense of safety and stability? Or do we really value that mid and longer term opportunity and potential to grow? And are we willing to face what's right now and make that shift then to make that habit of what is that one thing or two things that can really move me forward?
Now, I know that we said that we were going to talk a little bit about spirituality or faith, and I invite you, Sarah, to speak into that. At the same time, oh, I just the personal values. Mm, okay, in these uncertain times, as we call it, and there always will be. How many times have we lived through this? Back in 2008 or whatever it is. Um, there's a difference between hope and faith, and between hope and doubt. There's a fine line between doubt and hope because
Mhm.
often we just think, okay, let's hope this is good enough. Let's hope that this will work out. But there's doubt. There's difference between, okay, we're not sure. We can't absolutely guarantee everything, but I hope it will. And you have every reason to feel and believe that it will work out. No one can guarantee you 100%, but there you have every reason because you did your due diligence. You worked with somebody, for example, like Sarah or myself, and you have every reason to that it will align to what you want in your goals, your financial goals, your security, and all of that, or whatever else it is. Um, but when you're doing something out of fear,
Mhm.
that's not the same as being conservative or prudent. So you have to ask yourself, is it just fear or mostly fear? But all signs are pointing that this is a good move or a good thing for me to do. Or is it, no, 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 I really feel it that I should just take a step back. Something's telling me to take a step back and just ride the course or whatever it is. So it's a lot of soul searching into, yes, you can pray all you want, but you have to take action. Praying is one part of action, and that's really to align yourself with your higher being, whatever that is, or whoever that is for you. Align yourself with you. Really look into yourself. And yes, some people call it meditation, some people call it prayer, some people call it talking to God, some people do it in journaling, whatever your medium is. But to take the time to stop, take a beat, is this really aligning? And that's different from, yeah, but I've got responsibilities. Fine. Whatever you have to do to meet these responsibilities, are they aligning with what you feel is right and is you, and follow your gut, I guess some people would say, follow your spirits, follow your heart with the logic and the information. Because yes, we can give you all the information. You can go online and read a million things, right?
Yeah.
A lot of financial advisors, and you can go to AI now, and you can get information everywhere. Bottom line, get the information and align yourself with the people that kind of get you. Know what I mean?
Mm.
And then you're the one that makes the decisions. That's really important because so many people said, well, so and so, this guy told me I should do it this way. And they join programs about, no, it's Bitcoin, Bitcoin. Wait, I got clients in the Bitcoin craze because they just followed somebody on Facebook who said, join my group. I'm not putting down Bitcoin. A lot of people are in it and it's working for them. But there were other groups that kind of took advantage of that. If you don't if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And I know that's a cliche, but cliches become cliches for a reason. So you have to make sure that you're not doing something just because you hope you're going to throw the dice or you're going to just trust the first guru. bottom line is always be in control of your finances and of your decisions. Always bottom line. And to work out of information and what you value, your core values. Let those drive you, and no one can tell you, no, no, this is for the best. If you feel a little pushed or bullied, not coaxed or challenged, but pushed or bullied, and you don't, there's something in you that says, no, trust yourself and always put yourself in the position to be in control rather than let everybody take care of everything for you.
So I think there are some great points, and I also want to kind of react to some of this.
Go for it.
And so, I mean, the Bible talks about how God gives us the ability to create wealth, but also how every good and perfect gift is from Him. And so this is a beautiful partnership. Absolutely, we have to be responsible for our decisions, 100%. And fear and faith almost are like the same thing in many ways. It's what do we believe in, though? A fear is a belief in something negative. That's going to happen. I strongly believe that something bad is going to happen, whereas faith is confident expectation of good. And so it is good to pause when there is fear because sometimes fear, like a fear can protect us and keep us safe from making bad decisions. But then sometimes, too, we're making a fear that's not necessarily based in reality, but it could be rooted in our past experiences or traumas. And to be able to see that as well, just like the first story I told you today. And then back to what I've kind of been repeating perhaps several times is just real clear. If we're going to make informed decisions when it comes to money, we need to know where are we at right now? Where do we want to go? And what are some basic principles and rules of money that we can use as a framework for making decisions so that we can pick that one thing that's the most important right now and start taking those steps?
And I'd like to ride your coattails on this. And yes, many cases of fear, you think something bad's going to happen. I know people that aren't fearful of, I know something bad's going to happen. They're just fearful because all these things have been thrown at them. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, I'm going to bring it up. The tariffs. This has just spinned our world. Okay. So we all have to react. You have to react. So if you're a little fearful, that's natural. That's normal. And yes, like Sarah said, fear can be like, whoa, hold it, fight or flight. Fear is a good thing. It's protecting us. Of course, we're fearful. And that's not a bad thing. It's like, listen to yourself. Okay, what am I afraid of? That I'll lose everything or I'll lose a lot or I don't know what to do and what's everybody else doing. So yes, in your reaction, because people have to react to the global economy and the domestic economy. Don't just stick your head in the sand. You have to react. And if it's like, just, I'm okay, I'm writing it, that's a reaction too. But think about it and then look again at what you value. Do they align with your core values? And I asked my tax preparer right away and my financial planner. I said, just tap it in. I don't know what to ask. And I'm sure Sarah probably thinks, look, you're so vague, but you have to ask your financial planner. I'm just tapping in and I don't really know the question to ask, but are my finances okay? And so your financial planner has to be able to tell you, yeah, this is what's going on and this is what we're doing.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's like, got it. Because I didn't even know what to ask. I just said, are they okay? And they said, yes, we're doing this, we're doing that. And actually the international markets are doing great. You have the right to ask, even if you don't understand every word on that stock market or whatever, or your plan, you have the right to know what they're doing with your money at all times. And a lot of people just kind of ignore it or they just believe. Yes, believe with the facts, know what's going on. That's a great habitual way of thinking all the time. Know where you are and know what's going on. Keep apprised of it. I know it sounds like, oh, that's a lot of work. Start turning your way of thinking of that's a lot of energy into it's a little bit of energy. It's the same energy you have worrying about it or not knowing. Same energy, same bad time. It's a simple question. What's going on with my money and what am I doing?
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
same time as ignoring it and then kind of being like, well, I can't control the market, what's going on. Same energy and space bandwidth that you have for that, you can have in, well, let's find out where I am in all this.
Well, absolutely. Where am I? And then back to those rules of money, those principles that we looked at in an earlier episode. Go back and look again if you don't remember. Download that worksheet. What portion can you afford to lose and what portion can't you? And Ronnie, I know, has an account and a strategy, which is one of the ones I will often talk about with people, where she is never at risk of loss with that portion of her portfolio, but she's positioned to capture growth. And so that's that indexed strategy I talked about, where you're doing the market mirroring. You're not in it, you're growing based on it. And then the money that you can want to play around with, you are okay with losing. It might be up and down with the market. That more money that you need right away is in your fixed account. Kind of fixed interest rate, fairly easy, accessible. So these types of rules, how is your money going to be taxed? Are taxes going up or down in the future? And your fixed accounts, which are going to be taxed now and again, those high yield savings, those money markets, your tax deferred accounts, like these types of rules of money. If things are in chaos and you understand how these work, you can be, well, I know that this part of my portfolio is okay. This part, I'm okay with writing it out, right? Oh, if the market really goes down, maybe I actually want to mm, invest more now because if markets are down, hopefully maybe they're going to go up. I'm not giving any kind of investment advice right now. I'm just simply saying if you understand how these different types of strategies work and what you're comfortable with, then you know what you need to protect, what you can play with, what you need quick access to. You don't want anything in that quick access kind of bucket, if you will, or a pile that is maybe above and beyond around 6 months worth because it's losing against inflation, like we asked about earlier. So again, how does money work? Is it growing more than what the value of your money is decreasing? So where can you put it? And so that means that when you go to that financial professional, and here's another point I wanted to emphasize, it is important to sit down with somebody annually, if not more often. And it doesn't have to be expensive to have a financial professional in your life. It doesn't
No,
actually. And many people think, oh, I can't afford that. Well, just do your shopping. Find somebody that's values aligned with you and that you can sit down with. Like she said, no, it doesn't have to be expensive. Um, and that framework, those decision-making processes, now you have that ability to move forward with much, much more peace. You've got your goals, you have your values, you understand how your money is working for you or against you, and you're doing something about it. So, Kat,
okay. I think we made our vague themed points without getting together with each one of you one on one so we can plug this into how it pertains to you and how you relate to it. So I really invite you, and Sarah invites you to hop on with us for a call and tell us, okay, this is my life, this is what I'm thinking, these are my questions, these are my doubts, these are my fears, or these are my goals, or this is my North Star, or whatever it is, because you really have to plug it into your life. I know we've been kind of vague about it because we're speaking to everybody, kind of throwing the tent over everyone, but of course it's your life and your families. So I really invite you to take advantage of speaking with us. Just one last thing, I just got together with one of my clients who isn't looking at investments, but again, it's the mindset. She has been so afraid to renegotiate her contract because she doesn't want to be let go. Every time we get together, she's like, do you think he would fire me? And it's like, we've really built her up in the last 9 months of, okay, prepare yourself for what he did, if he did. Whoa, that's scary. Are you ready for that?
yeah.
Because, it's an international company, but she's here in the United States. Like, are you ready for that? And so now she's gone to networking groups in her alma mater and her women's networking to get a good contract negotiator, because the first guy that did it, she's like, oh, here, wrote it up. And she's really not covered for maternity leave. She only got 2 months instead of 5 or 6 months. Now she's going to ask for this much. So she has leverage to negotiate. She's also going to ask for, she's on affordable health care and, Obamacare. And we just found out that her pelvic floor collapsed, maybe TMI, but this is a woman's issue. And her doctor said, of course it's covered. It's not covered. So she went for 10 physical therapy for pelvic floor, and $1,500 out of her pocket because she thought her health insurance covered it. It's these things that you have to really know and not just say, no offense to the doctor, but obviously they were like, oh yeah, of course it covers it. They didn't really research it to make sure. I've been through that where I've asked my doctor's office, are you sure this is covered? And then I call the insurance and I had it pre-approved. I got into that habit and the habitual way of thinking years ago. I want it pre-approved. Oh no, they'll approve it. No, I want it pre-approved. And I get everything pre-approved. I want it in writing. because you never know. And that's why we mean about getting in the money mindset. It could be something like renegotiating your contract. It could be setting yourself up for better success.
Yeah.
Things like that is that's what we help you with. Where are you? What are you afraid of? Or where are you that you could improve? And she has a baby and her husband's living off of her insurance. They're both like together on affordable care. So this affects other people.
Mhm. Mhm. 100%, 100%. And I think we could probably both continue on and on with stories. Like I'm already thinking, oh, this, we should share this and we should share this, but you'll just have to sit down with us maybe to hear some of those stories or to look at your own unique case. We appreciate you being here. Please leave comments below. We'll reply to the comments and reach out. Feel free to email us, reach out, or book on our calendars. We're offering you complimentary consultations along with this. And stay tuned for our next episode,
Which is
Rewiring Your Mind for Financial and Personal Success.
okay. And I actually have a step called habit with periods between each letter that stands for something. There's a process of how to create a habit. So I will go through that. Thank you so, so much. Take advantage of our link and see you on the next one. Yay. Okay.